For us, this is going to be a key moment also for the future power fundament of this House, because we have seen before the summer with the motion of censure, with the situation that we need to see a clear pro-European course coming from the Commission. And we believe that tomorrow is really the chance for the Commission President to have a moment of European strength and European leadership. And this is something that, unfortunately, we have not seen, at least not enough to our taste, over the summer, where with the trade deal with Trump, but also with other issues, we could rather see a wiggling through, trying to somehow find compromise between different capitals in the European Union. And let me say this, we know that Ursula von der Leyen is not the only person who has a responsibility in this game, that also heads of states and governments have their fair share of responsibility to take for the performance we could see in the summer. However, we believe that tomorrow would be the moment to retract and to clearly show what kind of course Ursula von der Leyen wants to set for the next years. We are still in the same place we were last year. We are ready to be part of these negotiations, to be part of this course. Of course, we have a set of demands and wishes. Bas is going to speak about that in a moment. But I wanted to make one critical point and one issue where we have seen that Europe has not shown the strength, especially standing up to Donald Trump over the summer. And that is, of course, the trade deal. And one very specific issue that we will push for in the next months to come is to insist on digital sovereignty of the European Union. We do not want Donald Trump to impose on the European Union what kind of laws we make here and how we want to make sure that also the internet, also the public, the digital space stays a space where there is a free and equal exchange of opinions. We see that this is challenged by big tech giants from the US. This is why the Digital Services Act is such a crucial piece of legislation, and we stand ready to defend it. And we also want to see the European Commission to use tools in order to have possibilities to show the US that we are not their vassal state, that we are actually ready to also hit back. And that would be, for example, a digital taxation proposal. We all talk about where the European Union can get more own resources from. Well, taxing the big tech giants would be one of those options. We feel that it's a missed chance that this wasn't in the proposal that we received before the summer, and we are going to continue to push for this. So first, we will push for having our own laws also when it comes to the digital sphere, and we want to push for fair taxation also for digital services in the European Union. I'll leave it here, and you can go on, Bas.
Thank you, Terry. Now, I will continue a bit on what we expect also tomorrow from the President of the Commission. I mean, if you listen to the priorities of this Commission, I think two priorities stand out very clearly, and that is, of course, security and competitiveness. However, we are very critical on how that has been implemented over the last year. I don't think anyone disagrees with priorities of competitiveness and security, but of course then it is about how do you implement it. On security, until now, it has been narrowed down mainly to defense spending. And maybe to some people's surprise, the Greens have been supporting that direction because we see how important that is. But at the same time, this is not the only issue of our security. And I just want to remind you also this summer, it showed again and again how vulnerable the European continent for climate change and climate disasters are. The biggest forest fires have swept through our continent this summer. And each summer we are breaking records in a negative way, and it's really wrecking our society. This means we need to prepare as a European society for these climate disasters. That is climate resilience that we need to build. That is also about our security, and that broader concept of security is something that we want to hear also from this Commission and also to act on it. The same is a bit with competitiveness, because let's be honest, what this Commission has been doing on competitiveness is mainly simplification and deregulation. That will not bring the jobs back to Europe. The only way to bring jobs back to Europe is to have a credible, innovative, green economy where investments are being done, where we are investing in our workforce and making sure that the European money also stays in Europe and is invested in Europe. That means a much more active European Commission on these issues than we have seen, because until now we have only seen a communication on a clean industrial deal, but hardly any follow-up. So the messages that we are expecting from the President are very clear. Maybe your priorities can stay the same, but the way you are acting on it, the way you are interpreting it, really needs to change. Last point on international and our international credibility. If there is one issue where this Commission has shown leadership, it is about Ukraine and Russia. This Commission did proposals when the Council was not ready. Ursula von der Leyen, rightfully so, was talking about Ukraine becoming member of the EU before member states were ready for that. That was leadership we saw from this Commission. And the big question is, where is that leadership when it's about Gaza? When we are talking about our own credibility international on the situation, what is happening there, we don't see that leadership. We know it's difficult in the Council. We know that even a very modest proposal on Horizon is being blocked in the Council. But we also know that this Commission can do more and should do more. And that is certainly also another topic that we will listen to very closely tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you, Bas. Thank you, Terry. I will go straight to questions. I see one here first. Please name your media outlet and name.
Sure. Jarno Hartikainen, Helsingin Sanomat. The left is gathering signatures for the motion of censure initiative. Do you plan to support that initiative? Thank you.
Well, to be honest with you, we know that these signatures are being collected. We haven't had a full group debate about it yet, but I will tell you one thing. We have issues that are coming up where we can, for example, vote against when it comes to the US trade deal, where we will have a very clear position as a group. For me right now, starting a motion of censure is not the course that we want to set. We will see tomorrow what Ursula von der Leyen is going to make out of this situation. If it is going to be a completely disappointing speech tomorrow, I can tell you the likelihood that people from our group are going to sign this motion of censure request is going to be higher. But we still want to see what's in the game right now. Has she understood that she needs to set a very clear course for the next years? Will this be reflected in the Commission work program? And then we will see how the group is going to position itself on the motion of censure. But I want to say one thing very clearly. We are in a geopolitical situation where we know not only Russia, but also other actors on the international scene want to destabilize the European Union head-on. And now having an institutional crisis also in Brussels is not going to be helpful. We see what is happening in France. We see other member states where the situation is becoming destabilized. I do not see what kind of alternative we have on the table right now, and we will need to see how we get out of a political crisis, out of an institutional crisis again. So this will be the different sides in the balance when we speak about any motion of censure request.
Thanks, Terry. I take here first.
Good morning, Mark Peperkorn, Volkskrant. I have a question about the EU-US trade deal, because I don't understand actually what you want with it. I mean, you stress the importance of digital sovereignty, and the way I see it, that's the only part actually in the EU-US trade deal which was taken care of, because the EU didn't give in on this. So what do you want more, except for this digital tax, to change in the EU-US trade deal to approve it as the Greens? Thanks.
Well, as I said, there are things in this trade deal that are not there. For example, moving ahead with the digital tax, which would be a very strong tool that the Commission could have proposed before the summer. If you make a proposal, you can still withdraw it. But right now, this is not on the table. And clearly, the fact that it's not there is weakening the European Union. So this would be one very concrete issue. And the other issue is, when we talk about the Digital Services Act, it is true, it is legislation that we have on the table right now. now. But where is the European Commission actually executing that, using it to enforce it? We see that there is disinformation spreading in the European Union ahead of every single election. We know how powerful already now these algorithms are, how powerful Russian hackers are. I have just been attacked myself over this summer. And where are the actions where we see that there is a limit to the power that, for example, big platforms have in the European Union? This will be what we will push as Greens over the next month. And I want to see the European Commission act on this. I don't think this is going to be an easy battle. I think it's going to be difficult to make the Commission act, but we will be the ones that will definitely push for that.
And if I continue on the trade deal, I think beyond the tariffs, what's also in this deal, first of all, there are, of course, all kinds of promises towards the United States where Europe will adapt its legislation. For example, on the carbon border adjustment mechanism. Well, I can tell you, the United States has stepped out of the Paris Agreement. If there is one country where CBAM is logical for, it's the United States. And then suddenly, as part of this deal, we are exempting companies from that. Secondly, on the due diligence, we are in the middle of negotiations how the due diligence file will look like. And while we are in the middle of those negotiations, she is making promises with Trump on what will happen to American companies. As far as I know, that's still in the hands of the co-legislators and should not be part of a trade deal. And then another element, $750 billion investment in energy to the United States. This number is ridiculous, impossible. What does this mean? No one knows. There are only two answers. Or you take it serious, but then we can throw our climate targets out of the window because we know the only thing you can really import from the US is dirty LNG. And then some say, yeah, but that's to replace Russian gas. For now, what we are still importing from Russia is around 10 billion euros per year. 10. Now we are promising 700 billion euros. That's a totally other dimension. So that's, or you take it serious, but then we can forget about our climate targets, or it's not serious, but then what's the value of this trade deal? So I think there's a lot of criticism to be given beyond your little comment, Mr. Peperkorn.
I think we have Jennifer here from The Guardian.
Good morning, Jennifer Rankin from The Guardian. To follow up on Gaza, please, you said the Commission can do more and should do more. So what would you like to see in the State of the Union tomorrow, specifically on Israel and Gaza? And how do you respond to the wider counter-argument that, as you alluded to yourself, the Council is divided, there's no majority even for the modest Horizon proposal. So what's the value of, for example, a proposal to suspend the association agreement when it will fail, and then the EU potentially loses this very slender leverage it thinks it has today over the Israeli government?
Well, I think it starts, of course, also with how is the president going to address the issue? I mean, until now, very much the language is that we stand for a ceasefire, release of the hostages, and a two-state solution. In principle, we all agree with that, but look at the reality. On a daily basis, the chances for a two-state solution are being made impossible by the Netanyahu government with their actions, what they're doing, not only in Gaza, but also West Bank. We need a commission to speak out on that, and not every time just repeating, we are in favor of a two-state solution. That feels like that people are disconnected from what's happening there. And that is already an important message, because that's also putting pressure on member states. We know that it's difficult in the Council, but that's why I gave you the example of what this Commission did on Ukraine. If we would have been waiting until 27 member states were ready to accept the candidacy membership of Ukraine, we probably would still be talking now. Sometimes you need to propose it in order to get things moving in the Council. And that is what we expect from this Commission, also on Gaza. And that is what we want to see. It is about European leadership on this issue from this Commission.
Okay, I'm going to take just two more together, if that's okay. I see one here, and then Andy Bans from the EFT.
Yes, Danielle Weber with the Luxembourg Public Radio. On the EU-US deal, do you ask very precisely for amendments, and if yes, which ones? And if this is not the case, are you going to vote against it? Thank you.
Well, we still need to have a debate in the group on exactly what we are going to ask for. We have not finalized that yet because our time right now in the group meetings is very limited, I can tell you. There is a lot happening in the world and there is a lot of need for discussion. But yes, we definitely have an option to vote against if there is going to be no movement in what we see right now. We think, I mean, on the actual vote that we are going to take in this House, yes, it's two very specific votes, but of course there will be a broader context to which this will refer to. So for us, we will have a further debate on how we are going to engage with the negotiations. We, of course, also are in touch with the Commission, who are defending this deal. We have different views from different member states. We will figure that out. But voting against is definitely in the mix for us. And I can tell you the first debates we have had in the group were very, very critical about what's on the table right now.
Andy?
Yeah, Andy Bounds from the Financial Times. Just on the 2040 target, what's your view of the signals that are coming out from the member states and the Commission? Are we going to have one that, you want?
Well, I think the most concerning statement was, of course, last week, where France was saying it needs to go to the European Council. Let me be very clear. If you want to make a file impossible, just send it to the European Council. So what Macron is doing here is killing climate policies and also killing the Paris Agreement. So probably he needs to reassess that. We are still doing our negotiations in this Parliament. We are positive about what we can achieve within this Parliament. But of course, we are also dependent on what's happening in the Council. We are still fully supporting the Danish presidency, who is really trying to make progress on the file, still trying to get a deal in an extraordinary Environment Council. It's still that possible, but it's also very clear that some of the bigger member states are throwing sand in the machine. From Poland, you could have expected it. From Hungary, you could have expected it. It's a bit unclear why France is doing this. And I have to say also Friedrich Merz, yeah, maybe he should get his line a bit clearer, because it's changing a bit on a daily basis where Germany stands. So that's also not helping the debate, to put it mildly.
Can I just add, I mean...
I knew you would be triggered on.
No, I'm not going to speak about Friedrich Merz, because I think the Council obviously is important, and it's a key question on what is going to happen there. But also here in this Parliament, we all know what happened before the summer. Things could have been much easier in terms of negotiations. And again, if you look at the situation that we are in right now, if we do not constantly want to be in this situation in this House, where we have an unclarity about where we go...
That was the
I hope it wasn't a reaction to what I just said. Then we just need to have a more stable working relationship between the pro-European democratic groups in this House. Because otherwise the Parliament is going to slow down every kind of process in the coming legislature, and that cannot be in anyone's interest. So for me, what has happened with regards to the 2040 target is again a very, very clear sign that the pro-Europeans need to get their act together, and that we need to set course for making the European Union stronger and more ready to act in the next month.
Very good. Thanks all. I'm afraid we're out of time and we have another group waiting. But you can get us outside if it's urgent. Thank you.